All right, Alan, so tell me how you feel about the NAR court case and how it will affect agents in the marketplace.
Well, today we're here in our new No BS bar at the agency office at the Virginia Beach Oceanfront. So let's talk about that a little bit. Play together, work together.
So join us.
Let's have a great time. You know, I'm pretty excited for the court case. In fact, I think it is a great thing for professional agents.
Everybody else is scared. We're not scared.
We are not scared. And one reason is, have you ever done buyers without having a buyer agency in place?
2 in 8 years. We went back.
2 in 8 years. That's because when this came about, I said, we are going to do an audit to see if we have risk or exposure, and we found 2 that somehow slid through without a buyer agency.
I think because I met one at a new construction site, and I don't remember what happened with the other one.
Something happened, so I'll let you slide 1 time in 8 years. But what that is, you know, the new situation is going to cause a lot of people to change their business practices, because it's not just the lawsuits and the money that came about, but a lot of what's really going to happen is the money. There's going to be appeals, and that could take 10 years, some people say. But what's going to happen right away is there's going to be business practice changes. And one of the things I see changing is those companies that haven't forced buyer agency, they're going to force it really quick, because that's the one way to understand who's getting paid, who's working for who, and what representation is going to take place. Now, in my mind, just as you know and you agree, that should have been happening all along. That's how transparency happens. But some companies and some brokerages haven't been doing that, as is apparent by some of the lawsuits that have taken place.
Oh, yes, and apparent by what we hear
every day.
Every day.
Because we hear consumers that don't know who's working for them, and we hear agents that say, oh, I never do a buyer agency. It's not worth the paper it's written on.
Which is hilarious.
Which just shocks us. Or we hear agents that say, well, my broker told me that don't even bother with the buyer agency because we can never collect commission on it. Well, we know.
We've done it several times, so we know that it's worth it.
That it is very much true. We have sued for commission based on our buyer agency, and we've never lost based on that. And so one of the things we need you to understand is your buyer agency agreement needs to make sure that there's certain requirements, and every state is different. But here in Virginia, there's specific requirements that need to be in it about who you work for and what services you're going to perform and what you're charging and who is going to pay what you're charging. And so we make sure those are in there, and you need to make sure with your brokerage that you have those too. But here's what it really means is, as a buyer's agent, your fee is most likely going to become unbundled from the listing commission.
Yes.
So what's going to happen is a skill set that is going to become most valuable out there is going to be, can you negotiate your commission on the buy side like listing agents have been negotiating for years?
Right, because when you're sitting there and you're going to have to prove your worth. So, do you have the experience? Do you have the negotiation skills that is going to be worth it? Can you sit in front during your buyer consult, which, let's just face it, the majority of you guys aren't even doing. I do one with every single buyer that I meet with, because I feel like that is what's going to get me from A to Z, and it's going to get the ease of the transaction. And personally, that's what makes it effortless, and that's what makes we go to closing and our people are like, oh, this is so easy, it's been so wonderful. It's because they understand what's going to happen, and it makes them knowledgeable. So that is where you're going to have to prove yourself and explain to them, just like a listing presentation, what it's worth. And in that part is where you're going to have to tell them, look, this is what I am being paid from you.
Typically in the past, we saw more experienced agents focused on listings, and we saw new agents focused on buyers. And they typically did that because they didn't always have to show their value. And what happened was, unfortunately, quite often they'd say, well, you don't have to pay me at all. I get paid by the seller, and my services won't cost you anything. Sometimes they even use the terrible F word, free. So
Which
they
we
would
know is not the case,
which
because they're
we know,
definitely paying for
in
it.
fact, the lawsuit specifically states they are not allowed to use that word anymore. But what would happen is they would end up working with clients out there, because buyers, if they're first-time buyers, that was an opportunity for them to work with clients that maybe knew less than them. Well, moving into the future, they're no longer going to be able to do that. And so they're going to have to learn how to get paid from the buyer, or to negotiate their commission when they go up against a seller. And so what's going to happen is they're going to have to negotiate with an agent on the list side, which might be a Betsy, who, if they bring an offer that is a terrible offer and it's poorly written and it's a lowball offer, somebody on the other side may say, well, if that's the offer you're bringing me, I'm only going to pay this much, or I'm not going to pay anything of your commission if that's the offer you're bringing, or you don't even know how to fill out the paperwork properly. This is going to be a problem transaction, and we're not willing to pay you.
Correct.
And so if that is what is going to happen, those agents are going to have to learn to get stronger with their clients. Or what some predictions are going on is that the number of realtors at NAR right now is hovering around 1.5 million. Some are predicting it'll go to 1 million, or even to 800,000, which what will happen is a lot of the commissions on the buy side may go down, which I think they will. My personal prediction is we'll see the average commission on the buy side go down as much as 30 or 40%. And if that happens, everybody's in panic. Well, the professional agents will actually end up making more money.
Correct.
So I think that's a good thing.
I think it's a great thing. And I also think it's a great thing that we would drop a third, if not half, of the agents, because we need to.
Yes. It's definitely our barrier of entrance, and what has happened through COVID and other things has definitely allowed too many agents to enter the industry. And you know what? That is another no BS bar talk that we will definitely have to hit in the future.
Absolutely.
So for today, I think we're done, and we're happy to see you, and we'll see you at the next No BS Bar Talk.
See you soon.